Welcome to Arsenal Fan TV, and this is the aftermath. So, let's wrap up all of the weekend's action, and naturally I'll start with a little update about Robbie. So, the official Arsenal Fan TV injury update. Robbie seems to be recovering from his injury. He has great mental strength. He is a top pundit, so he will be back for the Google Hangout tonight. Check that out at 9 o'clock, and you can tell him to get well soon and all that, but I'm sure he'll be fine. And the Arsenal Fan TV injury updates, when we say someone's going to be back, unlike Arsenal Football Club, we mean it, they'll be back. So don't worry, he won't be out till November next year or anything like that. All right, now, the Arsenal game, let's get on to that. I'm delighted, 2-0. I was quite nervous about this game, to be honest with you. Southampton's defensive record has been phenomenal. They're riding high in the Premier League. You know, they could have gone top had they beaten us and with other teams dropping points. So that shows just how well they've been doing. And, 11 games in before the start of this. So it's not a flash in the pan. They're actually a very, very good team. And their players have been recognised with England call-ups. So I was quite nervous about this game, and I predicted a 2-1. The way the game actually panned out was quite strange because, we kept a clean sheet against them, which is great. But the goals that we scored, I was quite surprised. Southampton conceded 4 goals in the league. Then they go and score a goal from a goalkeeper. Then they go and score a goal from Boric doing 3 Cruyff turns, which gets progressively worse than the last one, each 3 of them. And then we score a penalty. So the last 3 goals, they've just been out of character for them. So I was quite surprised at the goals we scored, but nonetheless, we took our chances and took advantage of their mistakes. And the good thing about our performance is that we didn't make any mistakes ourselves. We were quite disciplined, quite organised, and we only limited their shots to, I'd say, 1 decent save that Szczesny had to make, and another one, a miss kick from Arteta, where Szczesny pulled off an alright save, but one you'd expect him to make. The rest of them were straight at him. So even though it was a fairly even game in terms of possession and all that sort of stuff, I think Arsenal were the deserved winners, just that they'll be kicking themselves at the nature of the goals that they conceded. So, I don't think Southampton need to worry too much. They'll be alright. But, you just learn, don't you, when you play the good teams in the league like Arsenal, then you are going to be punished for your mistakes. So, the thing that surprised me about the game was Lallana coming off as well. He's been one of their key players this year. He's been, rewarded with an England call-up. Maybe it was the fact that he'd been featuring for England in the last couple of games that they took him off. But for me, I took that as kind of evidence that Arsenal had shackled their attacking threat, and he's a big part of that attacking threat. So I was happy to see him come off when he did come off, even though they bought on their £50 million man. I breathed a sigh of relief because Lallana is the sort of player that can punish you. Walcott coming back, that was a great boost for us. It was nice to see him come back. He had one moment where he got put through the middle with a great through ball, and I thought, take a touch, run on, but he went for that first time pass that unfortunately was a little bit heavy. But that's to be expected. Let's not get on the guy's back. He's been out for 2 months, and we know what he can do. He's a very good player. Just look at his statistics for last year in terms of goals and assists. He's a very, very welcome return to our attacking lineup. So a little bit rusty, but glad to have him back. And, we remember that goal he scored against Marseille, that brilliant volley. And we've got Marseille coming up, so maybe he'll turn it on again tomorrow. But very, very glad to have him back. But the person I want to speak about the most is Olivier Giroud. For me yesterday, that guy just embodies everything that fans look for. If you want to write a book on how to get fans on side, you do what Giroud does. First thing, you score in the North London derby to win the game 1-0. That's always going to make you a hero. But seriously, yesterday in the game, the amount of times I watched him, when Szczesny would take a goal kick, he'd be 15 yards away from where the ball's about to drop, and he'd just he'd sprint to get there. He'd actually sprint to go and challenge for that header, whether he won it or not. And even if he didn't win it, or even if we didn't win the knockdown, he just wasn't deterred by it. The next time he'd do it again and again and again. There'd be times in the game where I think he's a bit too far away from this now, but then he'd run 20 yards this time and go and challenge for it. I just absolutely love that dedication. And when you see that level of dedication just for challenging a ball on the halfway line, it's no surprise that he got the first goal because, he's run 20, 25 yards to put Boric under that pressure. And you can criticise Boric all you want, and yeah, he does deserve his criticism, he knows that. But if Giroud didn't think, do you know what, I fancy this and I'm going to go and close him down, he wouldn't have been forced into the mistake, would he? So I just think Giroud there was absolutely brilliant. It just shows that desire. You know, when you're playing up front by yourself, something I do, I'm a striker myself, and I get tired of chasing down 4 defenders and 1 goalkeeper. You know, it does get to you a bit because you can be made a mug of quite a lot of the time. People just pass and get around you. But Giroud just does not care about any of that. He's not too proud to do the dirty work. He's not too proud to be, you know, played in the triangles, and he just forced Boric into that error. It was absolutely brilliant. I think, you know, Boric tried to send him one dummy and Giroud continued to go for it. It's not like he thought to himself, oh, you know, that's one, I've done my job, and then given the opportunity to clear it. He just persisted. And if you watch it back, you know, it's hilarious. Every single turn that Boric did gets progressively worse, and that's all down to Giroud. So you can talk about the luck, but I'm going to say you make your own luck, and Giroud certainly did that. And, you know, again, for the second goal, I just love his sort of confidence and his desire to get on the score sheet. You know, I want a striker that wants to score goals. I remember this man, Ian Wright, how much he used to love scoring goals. You know, every single goal he scored, no matter what the scoreline, no matter what the team, he'd celebrate it with real glee. And I think that's something we've lacked, you know. Obviously, I love Thierry Henry, you know, don't get me wrong. But sometimes when a penalty comes up, he'd give it to another player for the benefit of the team. And I think that's hugely admirable. But Giroud, when that penalty came up, he got that ball. He wanted that ball and he put it away with aplomb. So very happy for him. He's up there now in the Premiership goal-scoring charts, doing brilliantly. And, you know, well, I know who I'd rather have, Giroud or Soldado. I'm delighted with Giroud. Anyway, you know, one mention for Giroud as well, because his granddad passed away a couple of days before the game. And, you know, you saw in his first goal, his celebration was pointing up at the sky. And he said after the game that, you know, that the 2 goals were for his granddad. And he said a couple of things about that. So, you know, rest in peace, Mr. Giroud Senior. And, yeah, you know, Olivier, well, brilliant reaction to such horrible news. So well done on that. Just a couple of mentions for Ramsey and Wilshere. God, them attempts, you know, Wilshere's, I'll take that first. That little dink, just absolutely brilliant on his weaker foot. So many players would have just not known what to do and just would have put their laces to it and just smashed it and hope for the best, hope for a deflection, an own goal, a corner, anything. But just love seeing that. It was silky and so unlucky. On another day, that hits the post and goes in, or it hits the post and goes out to Ozil, who was just in line with the post, but it went back for Boric absolutely perfectly. And, well, maybe he thought it was his day, you know, when the ball's coming off the post like that to him. And then Ramsey's, God, that it's just an indication of how much confidence Ramsey is playing with these days. To do that, that's a training ground thing. You know, most of the time you try that on the training ground, and it's the sort of thing that players say, you know, when someone does something special in a game, or you should see what he does in a training ground. I cannot believe he's trying to pull that out of the bag at 0-0. You know, it's not like we're 5-0 up and it's Samba time. That was just a great effort. It shows his confidence. And also with Wilshere and Ramsey, what I liked was they changed during the game to be a hell of a lot more defensive and more organised when Arteta had to come off, who didn't have the best of games, but you know, when you've got 10 people playing out their skin and playing brilliantly and one person has an off day, that's what a team is all about. So it's understandable. Other players will have off days, so I'm not going to get on Arteta's back. Usually his pass completion's up in the 90%, 95%. So fair play to him. Bounce back stronger in the next game. Alright, so that's enough about the game. Still top of the league, increased our lead at the top. Now we're going to move it on to some tweets. So, Stephen Clark Henderson has tweeted in saying, "A win's a win at the end of the day. Sometimes winning ugly shows how consistent a team can be." That is very true. You know, Southampton, they beat Liverpool away. They drew with Man United away. They've come to our place and they've got beaten 2-0. You know, when you look at their record against the big teams before the game, I would have taken anything. I would have taken a 1-0 own goal. So, Stephen Clark Henderson, I completely agree with you, mate. You know, that's all we need is the 3 points. I don't personally care if we win ugly for the rest of the season. I've been missing out on these trophies for too long now, so I just want the trophy. So, yep, main thing is 3 points. Ben Spower, Giroud, brilliant. Defence solid once again, and Ramsey is growing with confidence more and more every game. Well, it's like I based everything that I just said off that tweet, isn't it, really? You know, I've said everything I need to say about Giroud, the defence, Ramsey. They deserve the praise, so I'm glad someone else is echoing my sentiments as well. Fired AFC Hussein. Gibbs, Wilshere and Giroud played phenomenal. It just shows that shows everyone that Arsene Wenger knows what he is doing. And you know, that's a very good point. Every single time we win a game and we're sitting at the top of the league, one thing I do think to myself is just how happy I am for Arsene Wenger. Because, you know, that guy took some serious stick from a lot of people. And, you know, as fans, we know that there's apparently two brigades. Arsene knows best and Arsene out brigade. And I just think that I'm glad to see that Arsene out brigade getting smaller and smaller and smaller with every single game. Arsene Wenger deserves immense credit for sticking to his philosophy and believing it, but more than anything, tweaking it. Finally, we've got the financial firepower to go and compete with teams, and he's done that, and he's bought Ozil, and that's something he hasn't done in the past. So it shows he's still open to change, and he deserves credit for that. So I'm delighted for Arsene Wenger. Jay, he has tweeted saying, another strong performance from our back line. As for strikers this January, I'm looking at Remy, Benteke or Lewandowski. Well, Jay, you're 100% right. The back line is phenomenal. I think sometimes individual players don't get enough credit in the back line because you take them as that back four. Or maybe it's because they're all playing brilliantly. You know, Gibbs has been brilliant. Sanya, he was brilliant again. And the Koscielny and Mertesacker partnership, well, they're just brilliant. That really is coming through as one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league, actually. So, delighted with that. And then you obviously talk about the strikers, and that's an issue on every Arsenal fan's lips at the minute. I personally would love Lewandowski. I think, you know, the club have to show ambition. We have to go and at least put an offer in because, you know, if I was to say to you, name me the top 5 strikers in the world right now, Lewandowski will be in there. And how many times in recent years, in the last 10 years, has one of the world's top 5 best strikers been available on a free? If you're not going for him, you don't have ambition. So, Arsenal, let's go in for him at least. It's the least we can do. Just like we did with Sol Campbell, I didn't think we were going to get him, but we pulled it out of the bag. Let's do it. And if we're top of the league and he sees that and thinks I fancy a Premier League winners medal, then we can tempt him with that carrot. So let's at least go for it. I'd say Remy and Benteke are both great shouts as well because, you know, the risk with Lewandowski is that can he cut it in the Premier League? It's something we don't know. You'd expect him to, but, you know, Remy and Benteke definitely can. Another one from Arsene about. Great performance from Giroud and Xhaka. Nervous how Ozil hasn't been at his best recently. Would love Draxler in January. In terms of Draxler, I don't think we need another midfielder. With Ozil, I interviewed a really level-headed, sensible young fan after the game, and he was talking about the more human element of Ozil coming to Arsenal. He hasn't settled in yet, all of this sort of stuff. So I think give Ozil time. He hit the ground running, and now he's just kind of having a bit of a lull, but he'll be back. Let's not worry about that. And then Glenn Wavy N has said, we didn't play our best, but we played well. Very happy with Giroud. You know, we've covered that. Brilliant to be winning games when we're not playing our best. Jay has said, too often we get into good positions, but play one too many passes. Burrich looked shaky. Should have tested him from long range. You know, maybe you've got a fair point there. You know, just trying to remember back to the game. I can't remember too many shots where it's been from distance. And we've got players that can do that. So, yeah, valid point. Maybe we should, you know, start popping them from 20 yards. You should think back to Ramsey's goal against Liverpool. We certainly can do it. Krabby has said, Ramsey's playing so well in the centre that Arsene shouldn't have moved him out wide. Either Flamini or Arteta has to be benched. Well, look, anyone saying that Ramsey has to play, it's hard to agree with that. You know, Flamini, Arteta is one of them ones where at home I only want to see one of them play because I think we can afford to be more attacking. Away from home, especially against the big teams, I can understand both of them playing. But it's a tough choice. Who do you put in there, Flamini or Arteta? I'll leave that for you guys to decide. Put that in the comments below. If we have to play one, who's it going to be for you, Flamini or Arteta? Ryan Burse, cherry on top of a great weekend to go along with the Ashes victory in Brisbane. Well, I'm not too sure about that. I'd rather England have won the Ashes, but let's focus on the Arsenal, and it certainly was great. If you're going to talk about cricket, Pakistan beat South Africa, so that's a cherry on top for me. Jack stepped his game up and showed everyone what he can do. He'll show people that they were wrong when they criticised him. A lot of people have said Jack's overrated and criticised him a little bit. But, you know, I think there's a lot of fans that have seen what Ramsey's done. And, you know, people are a bit too sensible and a bit too scared now to start criticising someone with the potential of Jack Wilshere. Let's not be silly. He's a brilliant, brilliant player. There's different sorts of players. There's the sort of player that are going to run past a whole of the opposition and bang a goal in, like Henry v Tottenham, for example. And there's players that are like Jack Wilshere, who are a little bit more understated, but people that understand their football know what he brings to the team, his composure, his ball retention, all of that sort of stuff. So if you're going to judge Wilshere on the fact that he doesn't score 30-yard volleys into the top corner, you're looking at it the wrong way. And maybe the people that criticise him are on that bandwagon. So anyway, you know, I'm not going to give too much attention to people who criticise Wilshere because I think it's a waste of time. Paul Manson, good win against the team who won at Liverpool and drew to United. Not a spectacular display, but huge 3 points. Well, as I mentioned, they've got a great record at other teams, at other big teams. So, you know, we did well. And, you know, what Liverpool and United couldn't do, we did. So all of this talk about, oh, you haven't beaten the big teams. Well, look, you know, you have to beat teams like Southampton who are trying to get into that big team level, and even the other smaller teams. And United and Liverpool weren't able to do that at Southampton, and we did. So, you know, you have to beat all the teams. Forget just the big teams. And Hinesh Patel, what a hard-fought win. The sign of champions. I'm now starting to believe we can win the title. Well, there you go. I think, for me, can we win the title depends on Lady Luck when it comes to injuries, and it depends on what we do in January with signing a striker. But one thing I know is the longer it goes on, the more and more people will start to believe, and more importantly, the team will start to believe. So let's hope that in January we're still top of the league after that, you know, busy Christmas period, and then who knows. But fingers crossed. You know, next games, if we look forward, we've got Marseille, and that's an important game for us because ideally I want to beat Marseille and hope that the other game goes in our favour so that we've already qualified. And if that is the case, then we can rest people when it comes to the Napoli game. You know, we might not be guaranteed top spot, but we might be able to rest the key individuals. And we've got a very tough away game. I think it might be Manchester City a few days after going away in Napoli. And it's always hard to go away in the Champions League against the top team and then go away in the Premier League against the top team and get results in both. We saw that when we went away to Dortmund, and then we had our worst performance of the season against United. That's not a coincidence. So hopefully we'll be in a position where we can rest some players. So we have to beat Marseille on Tuesday. And then after that, it's Cardiff on the weekend, and we're travelling there. We've seen what happened to United against Cardiff. I really enjoyed that. That was absolutely brilliant. With Rooney kicking out at someone and Evra diving in the penalty box to try and win a penalty, and then both of them scoring goals, it left a bad taste in my mouth, I'll be honest with you. So I was very glad to see that justice was served in the end. Rooney shouldn't have been on the pitch, fair enough. Demel shouldn't have been on the pitch either, but that was towards the end of the game, and Rooney getting sent off after a few minutes would have made a huge difference to the game. So justice was served there in the end, and how sweet is that? United conceding an injury time equaliser, absolutely brilliant. If only Cardiff could have gone on and won the game, but you know, Rooney also had that brilliant chance to win it, and I don't know what he was thinking, but I'll tell you one thing, it was hilarious. I absolutely loved it. And talking about Man United, let's go to their neighbours, Man City, and you know what this is going to lead on to. So, yep, well, do I need to say much more? Absolutely hilarious. Tottenham fans must be sick of hearing this. That genuinely didn't mean to do that. But anyway, yeah, absolutely brilliant that. 6-0, what a result, hilarious. And for Tottenham fans saying, oh, it doesn't matter if we don't score, it doesn't matter if we don't score a lot of goals, it doesn't matter if Soldado can't score from open play. Well, it does if you're going to score 6 in a game. Now we've got a better defensive record than you guys. I know it's one game, I'm not under any illusions, I've still got a good defence. But they got found out by Man City, who were sensational, I have to say. You know, they are a team to be feared, and I think Man City and Chelsea are going to provide us some real stiff competition this year. But in terms of the Tottenham performance, dear oh dear, Hugo Lloris, what were you thinking? And people asking for a Dawson call-up to the England squad. Ooh, I'm not so sure about that now. Anyway, that was fun. This weekend couldn't have gone much better for us. Liverpool dropping points, Tottenham getting battered, Man United dropping points, absolutely brilliant. And our lead is extended to 4 points at the top of the table. So I'm going to end this by saying the thing that you're used to hearing from Robbie. We're going to do this! Thank you very much. Tune into the Google Hangout.
Make of the game, mate.
I thought we played within ourselves. We didn't really get out of second gear today. We allowed them to attack us, and then we could hit them on the break. They left a lot of spaces open. I thought Jack played really well, Aaron played well, and again Giroud holding the ball up, knocking it out wide as well, and scoring the goals as well.
Save, but apart from that, very, very happy. I think Arsenal Fan TV giving me this na Giroud t-shirt, they obviously set the tone, and Giroud responded absolutely brilliantly. You know, at times today, Giroud was running 15, 20 yards just to challenge for a header, and I absolutely love watching that level of commitment from him. It does make me think, though, that we need to get a striker desperately in January, because he cannot continue that level of performance and continue to give 100% every single game for the rest of the season.